All right, welcome in. This is the Slate Tuesday, September 28th. Brendan Glasheen, Steve Buchanan, and Gary and Thorne, they are DraftKings contributors. They know all things baseball. We have a 13-game slate to get to tonight. Of course, there are playoff races, a big series between the Phillies and Braves tonight. Steve's Mariners are very much in the hunt. And, of course, that clogged AL wild card is on the table. We have DFS angles, also sports betting angles to get to. Steve, your Mariners are red hot. How do you feel? Do you want to take a victory lap to start the show?
No. Why take a victory lap for what? That they're still in contention? That you should have known that when I talked about that back in, March, that they were going to be in this spot. So business as usual. We'll take a victory lap when they actually make the playoffs. They're only a game and a half out of the wild card. Now, the unfortunate thing is, this is the real unfortunate thing, is that I was honing in on them to win the division. Yeah. It's going to be a stretch. They can still get there. They're not officially eliminated yet. It's going to take a lot. Okay, let's get that straight. But if I just said to make the playoffs, then I'd be sitting pretty. But, to be in this position, very humbling. I'm a very humbled man.
So when do you update your Twitter of believer in the Mariners winning the AL West in 2021? Is that once we hit next Tuesday, or?
Once that they're officially eliminated, then I'll take it down. But they are not eliminated yet. There is still a slim chance. I mean, look, if you said that the Cardinals were going to be in the playoffs a month ago, everyone would be like, you're crazy. But now you'd be like, wow, you're a genius. It's not over till it's over, okay? The Padres are going to be under 500. The Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's S. Buchanan 24. The splits for tonight's games, Gary, and are there if you want to go find them and get yourself set for tonight's slate in Major League Baseball. The DK Sportsbook baseball slates for tonight. Gary, and your Blue Jays, they're very much in the hunt here, man. One game out of that second wild card.
Yeah, basically have a playoff series starting tonight against the Yankees. That's going to be a really fun series. The pitching matchups seem really interesting kind of across the board. You've got some grizzled older veteran guys like Tyon and like Kluber who could step up here for the Yankees. Haven't really seen them too much this season do well. And then you've got like Jose Barrios, who the Jays traded for, the added gun, having to face the Yankees, something that has not gone well for Jose Barrios throughout his career in high leverage spots, as most former Minnesota Twins can attest to. So yeah, going to be a really interesting series. And, we've got the possibility of like a 3-way tie for the AL wildcard spots. It could be a really, really fun week. A 4-way tie, including the Seattle Mariners. I misspoke. I apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah, their last 6 games were at home, 3 with the Yankees and then 3 with the Orioles. Let's start there. Like, Steve, you're both big baseball fans. How much do you factor in these storylines, these races into your DFS and sports betting thinking as the season winds down with less than a week to go?
Probably next to nothing. I mean, it's, they're still going to go out there. They're still going to play. I really don't take that into consideration. I mean, some teams have been out of the race for over a month. I don't take that into consideration. I think it's just, you just keep rolling with it right now. The only thing I would maybe say is some of these teams that are out of it, might be testing the waters with some bullpen guys or anything like that. Just keep an eye on the lineups and just keep an eye on changes like that. But for the most part, really nothing changes for me on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Gary, and
I'm sorry, real quick, like the Mets running out Noah Syndergaard today, but tell him not to throw any off-speed pitches. That's something to keep an eye on, because he's just going to be throwing meatballs, and they just want him to go out there and get a hit. But go ahead, go back to Gary.
Yeah, Gary, and do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say it's a very specific lens you should be looking at certain games through. Steve brought up a really good example of sometimes you get weird happenstance where they just want someone to throw some innings before the season's over. And that could be a spot to maybe capitalize on. But we've talked about this before with baseball shrinking the September roster from 40 guys to 28. It's not like you're seeing the type of gas cans on the mound or a bunch of AAA lineups being rolled out against great pitchers that sometimes you would maybe see in September's past. So I don't think it has too much of an impact, but I will say this morning, kind of running through some of the pitching matchups tonight, running through some of the just implied team totals on this particular slate, one area where this did jump out at me, and I think they're going to be a really interesting team coming down the stretch because they play the Astros and the Yankees, 2 of the better offensive teams in baseball. What are the Tampa Bay Rays? What's their interest level in the last half, or not the last half of the season, the last week of the season, because they're already a team that is very, very manipulative with their pitching staff. So tonight, you've got Michael Wacha taking the mound, and Michael Wacha has been bad since the start of August. He's been bad for the whole season, really, but specifically bad since the beginning of August. Under normal circumstances, if Tampa Bay had to win this game, Michael Wacha might get a trip through the batting order, definitely not more than 2 trips through the batting order. He might even be working behind an opener if Tampa was really trying to execute what they generally execute. Tonight, they don't really care. They just need Michael Wacha to eat some innings because they don't want to stretch out their bullpen or tax an arm in particular too much. So that's one of those situations where, because they no longer care about seeding or winning the AL East, you might see more of Wacha than you normally would. So maybe this is a time where Houston's implied team total should actually be a little bit higher than it normally would be.
And Wacha only lasted 3 innings in his last start against the Blue Jays. We will see how he fares tonight. There are 13 games tonight in MLB. There is one game that could have some weather concerns, Steve. Red Sox, Orioles. No, Marlins, Mets. They were earlier today. That was my error in our pre-show meeting. But rain should clear up and things should be just fine. Gary and Thorne, you're not worried about the weather because you like Chris Sale tonight at 9,400.
Yeah, I think the weather will end up being fine. I just think Sale's in a really interesting spot. I mean, we've talked about him a couple times since he's come off the IL. The Red Sox are using him in a really interesting way. I don't dispute it. You obviously want to be careful with someone who hadn't pitched in 18 months and is coming off of Tommy John surgery. But he's yet to throw 100 pitches. And despite the fact he's Chris Sale, he's one of the best DFS pitchers we've had the last half decade, he's yet to score 25 DraftKings points in a start so far in 2021. But this could be his last start of the regular season. This is a game the Red Sox don't need to win, but coming off that sweep at the hands of the Yankees, I'm sure they really want to win this game. So if there was a time where Sale was going to be pushed to his limit by the Red Sox, I think tonight could be the night. And he's also someone who I think is actually pitching better than maybe some of his numbers indicate. Not that he's had bad numbers by any means, but you know, his strikeout rate is just 26%. We're used to seeing that well up above 30%, but his swinging strike rate still 13.1%. That would suggest more strikeouts are on the horizon. His average exit velocity is like the lowest it could possibly be. It's only about 84 miles per hour. It just so happens he's been BABIP to death a little bit. He's giving up a couple more home runs than we're used to seeing. So I think normalization is on the horizon for Sale. And I also just think this Orioles team kind of threw in the towel. I mean, the last 2 weeks, they were at least respectable to above average against left-handed pitching for the most part of this season. They've been bad against everybody the last little bit. In the last 2 weeks, they have a 28% strikeout rate. So I do think if there's a night where we see Chris Sale be like 2019 Chris Sale, it might just be tonight. And also, this is the cheapest price point he's had all season. So it's not like you're buying him at his top end value, considering we haven't seen top end Chris Sale in quite some time.
Yeah, and the Red Sox are in a spot, of course, they've got to win this game with the Blue Jays playing the Yankees tonight. Jays are just a game out of that second wild card. Boston was swept by the Yankees over the weekend at home in Baltimore tonight. Steve, how do you feel about Sale 1 and 2? Do you want to save a little money and go elsewhere?
I wasn't crazy about Sale to start the day. Garion did bring up some good points that, you know, they really haven't unleashed the chains on Sale as of yet, even though he's made, I think it's 7 starts now on the season. And he's right. I mean, we really haven't seen him hit that 100 pitch threshold. He came close against the Tampa Bay early this month when we got to 95, but we haven't really seen him go considerably deep into games. This is one of those scenarios that they might need him to do that, because that bullpen isn't trustworthy. And if you're going to go down with this ship, I'd rather be going down with Chris Sale than anybody else when it comes to the talent that the Red Sox have. So he brings up some great points. I could be interested in him. I was and still am on Logan Webb, though, going up against the Arizona Diamondbacks. You want to talk about somebody that has just completely flown under the radar for the better half of the past 2-3 months. This would be the guy. You look at that start against the Padres, doesn't look that great, but really, other than that, he's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He's only at 8,900 tonight, and you're talking about a putrid offense like the Arizona Diamondbacks. You want to talk about the Orioles threw in the towel a couple of weeks ago? The Diamondbacks threw in the towel a couple of years ago, and they're still in that mentality. It feels like. But when you look at the selection of pitchers on this slate tonight, you got Wheeler, who is hardly ever hitting 3x value because of how expensive he is. Woodruff against the St. Louis Cardinals team that everything is going right. When it comes to them, I don't really want to target against them. Sale we kind of just got into. Darvish, no thanks. Morton, no thanks. So you really get down to Logan Webb at 8,900. Like, he just feels underpriced for the way that he's been pitching and for his matchup. He's been much, much better at home than he is on the road too as well. So there's that factor as well. So 8,900, like, that's where I'm starting all my lineups tonight. If you want to use Sale 2 as your SB2, at least with an average of just under 4,000 for the rest of your lineup, that's fine. We punt the catcher. Who's the cheapest guy on the slate that's actually starting? Roberto Perez. You sound like a nice guy. Throw him in. Now it's at 4,200. Let's roll.
Actually, just to Steve's point, though, I was going to say that the Diamondbacks have thrown in the towel for years now. Do you want to know the exact date the Diamondbacks threw in the towel? It was August 31st, 2020. You know why, Steve?
I don't know why.
That was the day they traded one Robert Ray, future American League Cy Young Award winner. So that's really the moment it's been all downhill for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Wait,
love it.
That actually happened end of August last year?
Yeah. Yeah, and the weird fake 2-month season trade deadline, yeah.
Oh, yes. Right. That's why. Because I'm wait a minute. How did they pull that off at the end of August? That's right, the shortened season.
Well, August used to be the waiver trade deadline, which was exciting because there's still could be stuff that goes down. I mean, that's where one of the biggest trades for the Houston Astros went when they acquired Justin Verlander. They did that in August,
right?
But they got rid of that this year, which is stupid.
Robbie Ray minus 195 to win the Cy Young.
I know
what's going on.
Yeah. They just want to get it's a sale day, they want to give a little discount, get people on the train because it's too late. Could have got it at 80-1, but just saying. This is my last couple of weeks here at DraftKings.
All right, so Gary, so Steve has mapped this out for us where he's got two pitchers. You're spending about $18,000 on pitchers here. Where's a value arm on the slate tonight?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty strong pitching slate, if we're being honest. There's a lot of interesting arms, and even some of the arms that I probably wouldn't be interested in using. Someone like Bassett, just because there is issues in terms of how long he can pitch into a game. Tyone, Ryu have their own set of issues, but maybe not enough so much that you would want to stack against them, et cetera, et cetera. You really have to go all the way down to like the bottom, I think, to find some real value. And it makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't actually think Packy Naughton's all that good a pitcher, but he's just $5,300. And at this point, anyone who's left-handed that is pitching against the Rangers, I'm willing to give a chance. I think we saw this exact scenario play out on Thursday when Zach Lothar, who is not a major league caliber pitcher, and you know that because he pitches for the Baltimore Orioles, but he is left-handed, and he threw 5 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts and 27 DraftKings points against the Rangers, because the Rangers come into today ranking dead last in baseball in OPS and WOBA against left-handed pitchers. So do I think Packy Naughton's a good pitcher? Not really. But do I think he's maybe a candidate to go for 4x value tonight just because the Rangers are the best possible matchup he could draw? Yeah, I kind of do. So I think he's not someone who I'm playing in cash. He's not someone who I'm looking to have higher than maybe like 20 to 30% exposure to in GPPs. But I think you have to get a taste because the potential here for him to be 3-4x value is a lot higher than it normally would be.
Steve, anything else to add on pitching, or do you want to go to the stud hitter you're into tonight?
I mean, quite frankly, you could go right to AJ Alexy going against the Angels.
Yeah.
This whole game is probably going to be a disaster slug fest. But at 6,300, he's already wiped the floor with this team once. What have the Angels done to improve since that time? Nothing. In that prior start, what the heck, I'll bring it up. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 29.7 DraftKings fantasy points. And then 2 tough matchups after that, not his fault. But if he can come even remotely close to that again and get 30 DraftKings fantasy points, there's your value right there. You know what? It's the end of the season. What the hell, right? If you just wanted to get gross, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to go do this, and I'm not saying this is gonna feed your family, but yeah, I'm just saying like you get that leaves you a lot. You don't even have to punt the catcher position at this point. Let's just throw Sal Perez in there for the heck of it. Still 4,600 left. Look at. Don't at me if it goes wrong, okay? Because I'm not saying that I like this. I'm just saying if you want to get gross and you want a game that probably is going to have little to no offense, throw these two bums in there, and then you can really load up on the hitters. That's
well, and your favorite hitter tonight is sub 5K.
Oh, are you sure about that?
I think I'm pretty sure about that. Bryce
yeah,
Buxton.
You're right. I just want to mess with you. Bryce Buxton, there's no such thing. There's a Byron Buxton.
He's like Bryce Harper lately, so I understand the confusion.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, this guy, he's the host. You can't even get Byron Buxton.
Just talk about him, would you? Come on.
So, yeah, look. So, coming off the IL, wasn't doing great. Now he's back to hitting like Byron Buxton, who over the last 5 games, averaging 11.6 DraftKings fantasy points. I mean, this dude just absolutely mashes both sides of the plate, but more specifically against lefties. So far this season, 393 WOBA, 278 isolated power, and a 152 WRC plus going up against Tyler Alexander, who is a fan of giving up home runs, who is a fan of giving up any type of production to a right-handed hitter. That's exactly what you're going to get with Buxton tonight. The nice thing about Buxton is because he was slumping before, you're getting him under that 5K range. You are not going to be getting Byron Buxton under 5K for much longer. I mean, the season's almost over and the Twins are going nowhere, so there's that factor. But in terms in general, this is a cheap price for Byron Buxton at 4,700, but he's absolutely my favorite hitter tonight.
Okay. How about you, Garion? Who's the hitter to play tonight?
Yeah, do you like Bryce Buxton?
His brother? Yeah. Great. I think I'm going to go Trevor Story. I think there's a lot of Rockies hitters you could definitely build your lineups around tonight. Whether it's, I know we're going to talk about CJ Cron in a little bit. Brennan Rogers, who is in the lineup, was hit in the head with a pitch yesterday. They weren't sure if he was going to play. He's in there hitting second.
Nice guy. Talked to him earlier. Nice
there
guy.
We go. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. And I guess if you can do an interview with DraftKings, you have no excuse not to play.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yep.
But Trevor Story, I think there's sort of a overwhelming consensus that Story's had a bad season, and he kind of has. Like, he hasn't lived up to his potential. He's been much worse this year than he had been in his 2 prior years. The situation between him and the Rockies is pretty ugly, so I think that's kind of coloring his 2021 as well. But to his credit, he's really kind of salvaged his season the last couple of months. He's played much better. He's hit much better, specifically against left-handed pitching. If you go back to the start of August, he's hitting 341 with a 176 WRC plus since August the 1st. And he doesn't have just like any old lefty going up against him at Coors Field tonight. It is the husk of Patrick Corbin, who is just, look, I was Patrick Corbin's probably his biggest fan in the world. I loved that man. He was one of my favorite fantasy baseball pitchers for a long time, but he is done.
What happened? What happened to him?
The breaking ball's just not breaking anymore. The fastball velocity is gone. He is just not that guy anymore. And so far this season, 2.42 home runs per 9 to opposing right-handed bats. And that's not in Colorado. That's just in major league stadiums. So I know it's pretty easy to just say, hey, the Rockies are a good team to stack tonight, but the Rockies aren't even being priced like they're playing at Coors. I mean, it's really kind of strange to see how low their salaries are across the board. So right. I think Story might be one of those guys that even though this game is in the altitude, he might go a little overlooked just because there's like I said, there's this thought process that Story's just been bad so far this season.
Yeah, Corbin 10 days ago at home, to Garion's point, not at Coors Field, 4 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 homers, and 3 walks. Just not very good. That was 10 days ago against this Rockies team. So Garion likes looking towards the Rockies as a stack option. Steve, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Corbin has just been absolutely putrid. I mean, you just gave those numbers there against the Rockies. That's on the road. You know how bad that team is on the road? Like, they're worse than you calling, Byron Buxton, Bryce Buxton. Like, it's that bad, okay? But if you want to stack up another team tonight, the Rockies are going to be very popular, and as they should be. The Giants going against Luke Weaver, I mean, give me a break. Luke Weaver. You want to talk about somebody that has fallen from grace, and someone that I used to like a lot too. Used to come out, strike out 10 guys in one inning. Like, he was great. Doesn't do that anymore. He probably gives up 10 home runs in one inning at this point. But going against the Giants, who can roll out a bunch of lefties themselves, this is his first time facing them this season. And I have a funny feeling that a 4.38 ERA is going to be mighty inflated after this one. I know obviously the Giants lost a big bat for them, and Brandon Belt has that fractured thumb. But they just have so many interchangeable parts, and this is the big reason why they were able to do so well this season. I think that's going to be a lineup that's going to be overlooked tonight. The Giants really have nothing too much to play for. They're in the playoffs. It's just a matter of seeding at this point, but they should be able to tee off on Luke Weaver. They'll be able to tee off against that Arizona bullpen. There's going to be a lot of focus on Coors Field tonight, as there should be, but the Giants are in a really good spot here tonight as well.
Yeah, that total on the sports book has creeped to 12. That was at 11.5 earlier today. That's the highest total on the slate. And then there's not another game that goes into double digits. I see Detroit and Minnesota, 9.5. And that's to your point. Steve, any interest in, our man Buxton? Do you want to stack him with somebody?
No.
No? You don't want to stack the Twins?
No, Buxton's fine. I'll just stick with Buxton.
And Polanco and Donaldson are pretty good against lefties.
I mean, the whole Twins lineup, aside from Buxton, is just,
That's fair. I will say, Polanco, pretty nice numbers for the season as a whole, but has not hit at all at Target Field. He's been much better on the road so far this season. So if you are thinking about stacking the Twins, especially considering he's $5,000, maybe Buxton on an island is the better way to go.
Yeah. Look, as we mentioned, we're talking a lot of Rockies here. We've talked to Rockies throughout the year here at DraftKings. Brendan Rogers talked to us earlier today. There is a Rocky we've yet to touch on. You both are a fan of CJ Cron as far as a value play. Whoever would like to go first and make your case for CJ Cron as a guy you got to get in.
Sure. Look, I think he's just mispriced. There's really no other way to say it. I don't understand why he is this inexpensive. You're looking at someone who, regardless of how you want to break it up, if you just want to say that he's hit incredibly at home this season, that would be accurate. If you want to say he's hit incredibly against left-handed pitching so far this season, that would also be accurate. And if you wanted to say he's maybe the best hitter of all time when he's facing a left-handed pitcher at Coors Field, that might also be accurate because the numbers are staggering for Cron so far this season. It's only 76 plate appearances, but he's got an .833 slugging percentage and a .526 WOBA when those things align in 2021. So again, for $3,600, it's like almost a free space. And believe me, he's going to be popular. People understand that he is mispriced tonight, but I think you have to eat that chalk.
Yeah, I mean, to steal a phrase from two of my buddies over in AEW 2.0, Patrick Corbin's going to get a taste tonight of CJ Cron. Okay? His numbers against lefties are absurd. Gary didn't even go into the logistics here. 526 WOBA, a 455 isolated power, and a 220 WRC plus. Those are his numbers at Coors Field against lefties. Just absolutely absurd. So that guy is only 3,600 tonight? Give me a break. You are putting him in your lineup. Like, that's going to be the first thing I do. Like, I'm going to go on DraftKings. Okay, CJ Cron, put him in. And then you know what? I could submit it because he alone's just going to win the tournaments. 45 DraftKings fantasy points right there. That's all I need. He's just going to absolutely smash Corbin tonight. No doubt.
Okay. Any final thoughts on the DFS side before we make the transition to the sports book?
I would just say that I think that game between two games, really, and I already kind of talked about Tampa Bay and Houston. I just think that is a game that is ripe for runs to be scored because not only do you have Michael Wacha probably with Kevin Cash not needing to have his hand on the bullpen phone the entire time. I think he's just going to give him 5 innings. It's going to be whatever it is. Jose Urquidy's also not looked great since coming off the IL. He's been just kind of meh. So I think there could be runs scored on both sides of that game. I would also say the matchup between the White Sox and the Reds. You've got two pretty good offensive teams going up against pitchers who really should not be starting a major league game in September. You've got Reynaldo Lopez going for the White Sox, who has been atrocious against left-handed batters so far this season. So if you want to use Votto, Schrack, like there's enough guys to go through that. Even if you want to use Castellanos, it doesn't really matter. Like the Reds are going to score some runs tonight. And then you've got, I just want to make sure I get this name right, Riley O'Brien. Riley O'Brien is starting tonight for the Reds. I don't know who that is. He's got pretty modest to underwhelming AAA numbers so far this season. The Reds just needed someone to fill out the lineup card tonight. They're not catching the Cardinals. They don't care anymore. The White Sox could score. They could put up some crooked numbers in this game. Like double digits are on the table.
Okay. Sounds good. Way to get the name right, Gary. And some people on this program can't do that, right? So,
right.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
Insane.
All right, Steve. Well, I'm looking at the splits that you posted, not only on Twitter, but one of the three that you're on your screen right now, everybody. Put it in our Slack channel just to access it with more ease. And look, I've got it right here in front of me. Should we start with the Rockies? We've been so Rockies heavy. I know it can get a little monotonous, but are we more interested? Steve, I'm going to take an angle you've proposed before because I listen to your opinion. I think you're a pretty smart guy. Sometimes you might want to pivot off playing a total and go to a team total. How about the team totals for the Gnats and the Rockies? They're both right around 5.5. I think that's the last I checked. They're both at 5.5. Or are we in on smashing the over on 11.5 runs when we consider how good of a stack the Rockies are in DFS?
Well, okay, so both are at 5.5. I would say, so first and foremost, the over at Coors Field this season is overrated. Okay, the under has now hit 57% of the time.
Right.
Do some quick math. That is almost 60%. That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot in the sport of baseball.
And we talked about this a little bit last week on Tuesday, last Tuesday as well. That's why I don't know. I'm interested because you both bring up the Rockies and they're in a good spot tonight in daily fantasy, but right, only 26% of the bets from the chart you shared. That was very nice of you to do that. 26% of the bets are on the under or the over, only the over, pardon me.
Now I got to look because you don't even know what you're talking about. Okay. So looking at the chart now, I'm going to look at it myself too as well. Okay. 26% of the bets, 71% of the handle though, Glash, that's what's most important, is on the over 11.5. Okay. The difference between handle and bets is if there's a ton of handle and a small amount of bets, that means the big money is on the over. Well, I have some bad news. It hasn't worked out well for many of you people hitting the over at Coors Field this season. So, rest in peace to your funds there. The under continues to hit at Coors Field. And that's where I'm looking at here again. 12 runs is a lot of runs. It's a lot of runs. But the past 4 games in a row now, which includes one of those games against the Nationals last night, the under hit with ease. That is exactly what could happen here tonight. We like the Rockies against Patrick Corbin. You should like anybody against Patrick Corbin at this juncture of his career. So I would say I would be more interested in taking the Rockies over 5.5 runs because that's probably a run too low to go over that because they should be able to score 6 runs or more against Patrick Corbin and that bullpen. I'm not convinced that the Nationals will be able to do the rest to hit the over on this game total. So in those types of situations, you could do both. You could take the under on the game total, but over the Rockies team total. That's all right. This is America. You have the freedom to do that. I would actually encourage you to maybe do that. Gary is from Canada. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but you can do that too if you want.
We're more free. I don't know if this is the place to have that.
You're probably right. Yeah, that's the Slate After Dark. Don't worry about that. But I would say I would be confident in the Rockies to hit their team total over, but I would say that the game total still goes under because 11.5 runs is just a lot of runs especially when you have the Nationals at the plate as well.
So I feel like my hunch was accurate.
Yeah,
Sure.
There are just different ways you can attack this game without having to just bet the over, which, look, I don't really care if the under is hit 60% of the time this season. Regardless of any of that, it's always nerve-wracking to bet a number that big on any given night, even if the game is at Coors Field. But, if you're going to pay minus 140 to take the over 5.5 runs, you could even take minus 170 and just bet the over on Patrick Corbin home runs allowed. If he allows 1 home run at minus 170, you clear that bet too. So there's a bunch of different ways to attack this game if you just don't need to sit there and cheer for 13 runs to come across the plate because, yeah, that's a lot of scoring. And these two offenses aren't exactly great.
So same game parlay options. It sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's a great new feature.
It is available to all of us. Well, not all of us, but for states that are eligible. The DraftKings Sportsbook same game parlays available not just in Major League Baseball, but the NFL as well.
Look at this. Something went wrong trying to refresh the page. So many people are watching this show. They are running to do the same game parlay. We crashed the website. Okay, try it later.
Try it later. Yeah, you got time. You got time before lock because lock is at 7:00. So, all right, so let's keep moving forward here, Steve. On this wonderful chart that I'm looking at, anything else that jumps out to you? I know we've done a ton of Rockies. I just wanted to segue there.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think the board is, pretty what you'd expect here. No one is really jumping out as a surprise here. Like I said, the only surprise is that people just keep hammering the over on at Coors Field, and it hasn't been hitting. It has been hitting for a couple of years now, quite frankly. 2020 was kind of the same route. There wasn't a ton of offense at Coors Field, but people look at Coors Field and go, "Oh, gotta hit the over. It's at Coors Field. It automatically happens." Doesn't. So, look at the trends, do some research. You don't have to always follow the public. Do your own research. That's all. Or listen to us because we do the research for you. I don't know about Glash because he doesn't even know who plays in Major League Baseball, but Gary and I at least are respectable folks that you can trust.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Before we move forward into more games tonight, there are 13 games on the slate. I did want to ask the both of you because, as you both mentioned, it's too late. Well, it feels too late. You technically can still get in on the Robbie Ray Cy Young love at -195, but
no. It's too late.
I know. I'm telling people that. I'm just letting them know what the number is. Let me do my part, okay? And then you can get in.
Oh, do it well, and then I won't have to interrupt you.
I was curious about team futures and if you might be interested in hopping in on, say, a World Series winner, right? Dodgers are the favorites, and you have the Astros, Brewers, White Sox, Rays, and Giants. What are each of your approaches to this? I'm sure Steve and Gary, and you've already invested into some of these teams before the season even started, but do you do it now? Do you wait until the regular season's over? What's your strategy if someone was thinking, all right, let me throw in something on the Dodgers to win the World Series?
I mean, it's definitely tougher to do now, just in the sense that you're just not getting the value you could have gotten a while ago. And I know it sucks to say that because there's nothing we can do to help you in that scenario. But I think the Brewers are a very good example of this. They are 7-1 to win the World Series right now. They have the third lowest odds to win the World Series. However, at the All-Star break, when, they still were leading the NL Central by 8 games and had 3 of the 5 best pitchers statistically in the National League in their starting rotation, they were 13-1. So I'm not saying you can't still jump on them because I still like the Brewers a lot to win the World Series, but obviously you do so knowing that you could have had them in a much better number in the recent past. That being said, just looking at this board right now, there's still some interesting numbers here because of how things can still shake out in the divisions and who's getting that wild card spot, particularly in the National League. I mean, you've got the Giants, who very likely have a 5-game series with home field advantage, still at plus 850. You've got the Rays, who I can understand when you start kind of, going through your head and saying like, oh, how do the rotations stack up in a particular playoff series? And then you realize you can't name a single Rays starter. And that kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies, but this is a team that just is designed to win games and wins games constantly and is now playing in an arena where bullpen usage and bullpen just ability becomes so much more important. So the fact that the Rays, the best team in the American League, are still plus 800, I think that's a little surprising and almost a little disrespectful.
Steve, anything to add on team futures at this stage of the season?
Well, I know you can't see it because it's off camera, but I do have a ticket now that I typed out 100,000 on the Mariners to win the World Series. I would pay it about $151 million.
Oh, so it's visible on the stream. It's there.
I don't think it's visible on the stream. It's visible to you and I, but our beautiful faces are actually covering it on the YouTube stream, if I'm not mistaken. So if you can see it, great. If not, no problem. I just laid it up for you.
It's there.
It's there.
Okay.
I'll confirm it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You're wrong
Okay,
this
great.
time. Just take
There you go.
a lap. Yep.
I think Gary brought up some really good points. I don't mind throwing some money on the Giants at plus 850 either. I know that they lost Brandon Belt, which is a pretty big blow to them. Maybe you don't think Brandon Belt's a big loss, but he's been one of their better bats throughout the season. But they defied expectations. Can you pay attention, please? They defied expectations all throughout the season. Why can't that continue in the postseason? Like, they've been able to handle the Dodgers. They've been able to handle almost every team that they face so far this season. That's why they're in the position that they are. That's why they were the first team to clinch anything in Major League Baseball. So you're telling me that they're the 2, 4, 5, 6 best odds to win the World Series? I mean, I'll take that. Plus 850? Absolutely. And honestly, don't count out the Yankees too. I mean, there's no guarantee that they'll make it, but 12-1 odds for a team that could start surging at the right time, like the Cardinals, like that's real. That is absolutely real. That's what happened to, hate to go to a home base here, but that's what happened to the Red Sox in 2004.
Yep.
After they came back and beat the Yankees 4 games in a row, they went on to sweep the Cardinals. They won 8 games in a row. You get hot at the right time in the playoffs, good things happen. The Cardinals, I think it's happening too early. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they're one and done because they peaked too early. The Yankees might potentially be on the cusp of that. So just something to think about. But I think the Giants, if you're looking at this board and being realistic, like, I'm not putting 100,000 on the Mariners just because, I'm already going to win enough on Robbie Ray, so I can't embarrass everybody. But if you want to have like a legitimate play, I think the Giants at plus 850 is something to consider.
I would even just, Steve, bringing up the Red Sox for a second. I mean, it's not maybe the smartest bet in the world just because there is such a turbulent path to get to like an actual 5-game series, the actual American League Division Series. The Red Sox being at 22-1 versus the Yankees being at 12-1. I do just think that is a misappropriation of the value of these two teams. I think they're a lot more similar than the book is giving them credit for currently. And also, I understand that, yes, the Yankees currently have a 1-game lead to getting home field advantage in the wild card game. But when you look at the remaining schedule of those two teams, we don't really know what the Rays are going to be doing. But the Yankees and Jays play each other. More likely than not, one of those two teams is going to win that series 2-1. I don't think you're looking at a sweep in any capacity there. So the Red Sox playing the Orioles and the Nationals, and really having their two closest competitors have to beat up on each other for half of their remaining schedule, I think there's a pretty good chance the wildcard game is played in Boston. So the fact right now they're 22-1, I know they're still going to have to win that wildcard game, and that's a tough thing to swallow when you're making a bet like this. But I do think they are misvalued right now.
Yeah.
Real quick. I just want to make a quick plea, if you can, if you don't mind. Stop making interleague play a thing in the last series of September. That is that's egregious.
Gross. That's gross.
It's so egregious that like the Red Sox, and this is not just because I'm from Boston, I would say it's for any team, but that the Red Sox have to travel to a National League park, abide by National League rules when they are trying to get a playoff spot in the American League.
Good
but
point.
they have to go to National League rules. That is so obscure. Once upon a time, all National League games, interleague games, happen in June and July. Make that a thing again. I do not want to see any team in Major League Baseball end their season in interleague play.
Right. And
you got to add 2 more teams. So, you stick one in Montreal, you stick one in Nashville, and problem solved. We're all good.
Yeah, well, never mind.
Rumor has it.
That's a whole
Steve, I know you said National League rules, but to take your point home even further, look, not only are they trying to make the playoffs, but say they had it wrapped up and a pitcher gets hurt by swinging the bat, sliding into a base, something like that. Like,
stupid.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a very good point.
I guess universal DH would also solve this problem, which is maybe.
Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, especially to wrap up the season. It's a good call. Anything else you guys want to get on as far as the sports book before we go? For tonight, a favorite prop play, a money line bet?
I've got a couple that I do like. I talked about I've talked about it a lot, but I think that Astros-Rays game over 9 runs, I really lean towards that direction considering the starting matchup. Sale over 6.5 strikeouts. It's just minus 115. As I mentioned, the Orioles 28.1% strikeout rate the past 2 weeks. Sale still has elite strikeout indicators across, I said that word weird, indicators across the spectrum. And as much as it pains me to say it, I think Yankees money line is a pretty good play tonight at plus 110. You've just got so many question marks with both Jameson Taillon and Hyunjin Ryu that just give me the team that's plus money in this matchup. Ryu did throw 6 scoreless innings the last time he saw the Yankees, but even including those 6 scoreless innings, his last 5 starts, he has a 10.07 ERA. Let's just say he went on the IL with, I've been pitching bad lately and I need a break. So again, at plus money, I think the Yankees are probably the play. If you want to stay away from that game or just take the over, that could be an option as well.
Okay. Steve, anything else to add?
Yeah, if you want to do like a heavy favorite money line parlay tonight, a couple of teams that are not going to lose. It's the Boston Red Sox. It is the San Francisco Giants. And then just for the heck of it, why not the Seattle Mariners minus 105? It's plus 263. There you go.
No worries about
That's
Tyler
the
Anderson
entire
on
night.
2 days rest.
Say it one more time.
No worries about Tyler Anderson on 2 days rest.
Yeah, playoffs. You know, it's playoff mentality. You do what you got to do.
All the greats: Madison Bumgarner, Tyler Anderson, pitching on 2 days rest.
But if you look at the numbers for the Mariners against the Oakland Athletics this year, it's absurd.
Staggering.
They just absolutely annihilate the Athletics. They're averaging over like 6.5 runs per game against the Athletics this season. Like they are just absolutely mopping the floor with that team. That bullpen, by the way, is the worst.
Bad.
All right. Well, go A's. Garion, good to see you. Steve, best of. Okay. All right. We'll take that off the air. Thank you all very much for tuning in to the Slate. For Gary and Thorne, Steve Buchanan, Brendan Glasheen, thanks to our great crew, Andrew and Eamon behind the scenes. Tomorrow you get Emerson, Reed, and Jeff. I'm sure they'll be reacting to the Ryder Cup and also getting you set for week 4 in the NFL, looking ahead to Thursday night and the weekend ahead. Best of luck with your bets and your lineups tonight in Major League Baseball. This was the Slate. Join us for the Sweat tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on the DraftKings platforms.